over. Over. All right. All right.
Yeah, I think we're still behind. I'm behind anyway.
Okay. So you're hearing me like a second later?
Yeah,
Okay.
you look
Well,
like you're in real time, but I'm not.
okay. Hopefully it'll catch up with connections and things like that. So I'll just be slow about asking. But we're live now on YouTube for our second podcast, so we should be good and be able to figure out what's next. All right. So we got a topic today where we're trying to look at what the most recent and current scenario is, coaching mindset during the pandemic. And so just kind of having some fun with being able to talk about some of the challenges that coaches will face a little bit. And so if you look at what's going on right now, there's a lot of rules, a lot of different kinds of things that we're not usually accustomed to during this moment. And we want to explore some of the useful mindsets and just thoughts about what's out there. So if you had to point to like maybe one or two things, Adam, like what would you say you've seen as a coach that from the coach's eye, I guess, that has been like one of the more challenging things? And we'll both kind of go back and forth with talking about some of the challenging aspects of coaching during this pandemic.
Yeah, I think it's a really really great question, Isaac, and I think at the end of the day, for us, it's really about establishing the relationship with parents, with the student athletes, of course, and our coaches, and really uh, looking at that really three-prong approach where you have all three areas covered, and it's a very unique time, and many of the families are wondering if there is going to be a season, especially at the high school level.
Right. Yeah, not having that timeline that's set out that says like, oh yeah, we know we're gonna be playing on this day. A lot of it is hope, right? Like kind of hoping that somehow this season will happen and everybody's preparing for it. Kind of hard to get motivated, as a coach whenever you don't actually know, what's going to happen and how those things are going. One of the scenarios that I've seen that's probably a little bit of a challenge too for coaches is making sure that they're able to take the rule or the standard that's set by either the county or the state or wherever it's coming from, and then being able to pass it on to their athletes, at different levels. Having to try to follow that and rearrange the plans around those ideas is, I could see that being a real hang up and challenge to try to pursue.
Well, and you're right. It's really about how do we interpret what's coming down, whether it's from your school district or from your county
Right.
or from your state.
Mhm.
And many of our parents are dependent upon the coaching staff or the district to really clarify what that really means. And obviously, we have to look at our coaches for leadership. And being a coach for many years, understanding my role not just on campus or on the field, but it was also within our parents and making sure that our parents were feeling like they were a part of the program as well.
Right. Right. Yeah, I would say too that somehow, and I think I want us to do this today in the next few minutes here, is just to try to explore. Okay, so if we know like these challenges exist, and we're talking about probably surface level experiences, because each coach is going to have their own set of circumstances that they're going to be challenged with. But if this is the challenge, um, what is it that we need to do like mentally and emotionally to prepare for it, but then too, like what are the actions that need to take place? So you mentioned the three-prong approach as a mindset.
Mhm.
What are some things that you're thinking might be helpful for coaches to be thinking about, or or to even move on? What's some interactions that
Well, I think, just as we're doing today, I mean, on Zoom, having a line of communication, communication is so essential and so important for our student athletes. And so I would say, the biggest responsibility of a coach at any level is to make sure you're communicating with the students and their families so they know what's going on.
Right.
I can't emphasize enough on that communication. And we there's a sometimes we just kind of assume that everybody knows what's going on, and that everybody's paying attention, whether reading the newspaper or watching the news or whatever it may be. But I think it's really important to open up that line of communication.
Yeah. Man, what a big deal that would be, right? If the coaches are sitting in Zoom meetings with their coaches, making phone calls, yeah, just keeping them up to date, as tedious as it gets. Because again, I think that's the pressure, is to pass the information. But if they can have regular meetings that are set out to provide updates, and sometimes it's not updates, sometimes it's check-ins, that just kind of see where everybody is at. I think communication is a big deal.
Yeah,
Mentally,
I agree.
yeah, and mentally, emotionally, I think being able to stay with it, being able to try to stay focused on building people versus maybe even the season. Because that's what we have right now, right? Like we don't have the ability to really say, like, man, we're gonna win this championship next season, because we might not even have a season, right? But we do have an opportunity to build people. So in this moment where these people have come to you to try to compete and do other things, I think this is a good opportunity to start, giving back to them, and really kind of thinking, okay, well, I know the one thing I do have right now is I have the attention of people who are waiting and seeing what the next scenario will be. They're waiting for me to say something to them, like, let's go out to the field, or let's go do whatever we need to do as a team. And so that's an opportunity for growth and planting seeds right there, and developing relationships in this moment. So keeping that mindset that, man, I can serve at this moment still. Like, I don't have to worry about, whether the season will be here. No, we're just gonna build our family. We're gonna build our family. Right.
Yeah, I would agree, Isaac. What a great point. I think about, from a coaching perspective, is being able to build my team right now through Zoom. I have an opportunity before this season to establish a strong rapport and relationship, whether it's through a conference call or through Zoom, whatever it may be, whatever your virtual platform is. It gives you an opportunity to really connect with your students, and to really get your parents involved, and really laying out your expectations as a school, as a team, as the head coach. I mean, I always look at every situation, there's an opportunity. And in this case, I really believe that as a coaching staff, you have an opportunity to connect with your parents to make sure that they're all on the same page, and that your students know that you're there for them.
Mhm.
And I can't. To me, it's like I always think about being able to get our parents involved. How do we do that? Through the course of the season, it's always a difficult time to do that, because we're once Monday hits, for example, you're on the field and you're ready to go, and then before you know it, it's Friday night.
Right.
Now you have a chance to build that time and that rapport with your families, and let them know that you're in it all the way for the whole family.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Me and you have done recently a lot of work and conversations, or had a lot of conversations around, the social emotional learning of the student. When we talk about that scenario, I mean, I think it pairs well with being able to communicate with them. But maybe if you and I could share a little bit of, what can coaches be on the lookout for, as far as, what are you looking for as a coach? Like, where should our eyes be? When I know when I do some training with basketball, I always say, train your eyes as well, right? So where should our eyes be as coaches in this moment of pandemic and having to restructure the coaching scenario?
Yeah, I think a great place to set your eyes is really spending some time on knowing who your players are.
Mhm.
And through that conversation, again, whether it's through a conference call or through Zoom, spend some time developing that relationship. I can't emphasize how important that is. Your relationship means everything. And so as a coach, obviously keeping your eye on everything, but be consistent, be organized, and making sure that you're checking in with your players at least once a week. For many of the student athletes, the season's around the corner. In our case, in our area, we know that many of the teams are going to get started in January. So my recommendation for any coach at any level is to make sure that you're communicating with your parents and your families and your athletes, and what to look for. Again, think about that line of communication. As we begin to establish that relationship and rapport, we know that students are going to feel a lot more comfort. They're going to feel supported, and you're going to build something very special. By the time the season gets here, by the time you're actually on the field, you've already built that relationship.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, and just to reiterate and add a little bit, like what I would say is, these families, not just the athletes that we have, they're really going through it sometimes, and there's layers of going through it. Because it's not like somebody has to catch COVID necessarily, and we know that that in itself is a dynamic, but just to have to rearrange their life and spend their life differently, vacations that they may have been used to, or just operations as usual not happening, can really flip the emotional or behavioral um, ideas about how a person will pursue life. And so us being aware of that with our athletes is something I would like for us to be able to scan the horizon for, so to speak, because um, they can struggle and not even realize that they're struggling, our athletes, right? And I mean, I feel like that can go for us as coaches as well, but a lot of times if we can keep our eyes open for, man, I'm not hearing back from this athlete, or this athlete is showing up in a mood that's not like them, or those are all scenarios where we can kind of expect to kind of um, to see that, hey, you know what, this, we need to check in a little bit more, we need to touch bases and figure out more of it. The other thing I think too is if a kid is over or an athlete is over extending themselves out to you, they want something from you, right? They want to try to get better, they want to grab on to somebody who they can trust. And so understand that really kind of pick up on those scenarios in as much as you can. Try to feed those scenarios, whatever's needed, try to feed them.
Yeah,
um,
I mean that's a really great point. I think for us as coaches, it's important to know what's happening in your community,
mhm,
and as from your lens as a coach, being able to share that with your players. And many student athletes are coming from some of them are coming from very difficult areas.
mhm,
As you mentioned, I mean, they could have a family member that's ill. They could have, there's a lot of different factors. But today's coach, there's a lot more responsibility placed on the coach, not just X's and O's. It's the whole social emotional learning
mhm,
aspect as well, and being able to get the very best out of your players. You have to know your players,
mhm.
and find that time, make the time to check in. As you shared, I mean, that whole check-in process, I mean, I can't emphasize the importance of that. I mean, if you can check in with your players on a regular basis, it's gonna strengthen your relationship.
Right. Yeah. Hey, so sometimes there are different beliefs around, mask and wearing mask and how to approach COVID. Is it real? Like, there's a lot of different scenarios around that, and it's kind of turned into a little bit of a political thing in some situations, and other things it's knowledge, not knowledge. Whatever that scenario is, I feel like that can, it could bleed into how we coach and the things that we care about whenever we're coaching. And one of the ideas that I have, especially as I'm thinking about this topic, is, I think the thing that matters the most in our scenario as coaches and with the players is not whether it's real or not real, but more so about what does this mean for us if that scenario becomes true in our team, right? So if COVID becomes a part of our team by accident, and it's out there and it's obviously really possible, but what does that mean to our dynamic as a team, right? And so if we can coach with that mindset that, man, COVID could derail some of our preparation plans, right? That can be a motivating factor no matter where you believe that it's real, it's not real, it's relevant, it's not relevant. There are standards that are put forth by the county that will limit our participation
Right.
in preparation. And so just being able to have that mind or add that mindset that says no matter what, like I have to treat this as if it's real and that it matters because it matters at least for our preparation, right? There's a lot of other scenarios that I personally think that it can matter for, but at least I have to treat it like it's real because this can limit a lot of opportunity for our athletes to be able to get back to being in scenarios that are social, to get back to being in scenarios that mean together with others from a distance. Like all those things can happen and our season is enhanced because we have this opportunity to prepare,
Mm.
right? And so I think being able to circle the idea that says, yeah, we're going to do this. We're going to go ahead and do what we have to do out there, wear our masks, keep our distance, whatever regulations have been put in front of us, we're going to not try to shortcut those. And we're going to get our teams buy-in to do what it takes to maintain our presence on the field or the playing field.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think that, obviously following, high school athletics, following your the lead of your administration on campus, your athletic director, they are in tune with what's happening at the district office, and then really looking at public health. But yeah, you're right. Whatever is put out in front of us right now, we need to make sure that we're leading the way. We're the adults out there as coaches, and we need to make sure that we're providing the best guidance for the students, and that number one, they know that we care. We care about their safety first.
Mhm.
If a coach can sit back and reflect on what my role is while I'm out here, whether we're in the swimming pool, basketball court, baseball field, football field, your safety is very important to me. And
Right.
so through that, we're gonna make sure that we're following the rules and we're following what's been put out in front of us. And
Right.
you're right. I mean, it's really has shaped up to be more political than anything. But we know in certain areas that the numbers keep increasing, and so we need to really do our part. If we have an opportunity to be out in the field and to be together, whether it's I always say socially apart but physically, you have to think about the social aspect of things, but you got to think about socially close and physically apart, right? That's kind of what I've always really have emphasized on, because again, I think that many of our students are depending on us to make sure that we're putting them in the right place. But number one, if we just think about our role as a coach, number one is safety. And we look at safety and we really share that with our players, be very clear, be very transparent, that we are going to follow the rules. And following the rules means that we're going to wear a mask and we're going to be 6 feet apart, and we're going to have an opportunity to be out here on the field. If we don't follow the rules, then chances of us being out here tomorrow or next week are going to get lesser and lesser.
Yeah. Yeah, we're taking that risk. I like the idea of safety first a
Yeah.
lot. I mean, especially whenever we're dealing with the lives in this scenario of others. I like the idea of I'm going to err on the side of being safe. So one of the things that I kind of think about as far as us building this cafe coaches conversation cafe is I always want to make sure that we let our coaches know. I know the ones that are around me and the coaches that I know or have known. It's really important for us to send an idea of like, man, I'm proud of you guys. The people that I know as coaches um, and the challenges that go on. There's an element of us, of human in us too, and we, I don't want to overspeak for you, Adam, but we recognize you guys and we really acknowledge that what you're doing is important and challenging, and that's really what our conversations are about, is trying to support the people that we know so well because we're it, and we're in dual capacity, meaning that we are coaches and something else, and so us, being able to talk to you guys and let you guys know some of these mindsets and what's going on, and a way to be able to look at this is that, it's us sending our love and our support and our admiration for the things that you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, well said, Isaac. We definitely are very thankful for our coaches. We are thankful for the fact that you're able to step out and really put yourself at risk every day when you're out there. I mean, you really are, and so we appreciate that very much. And this is an open dialogue. This is going to be a continued dialogue for coaches to really have the discussion around what's really going on real issues and real topics. It's one of those things that coaches need to know that there's people that are thinking about them. There's individuals like ourselves, Isaac, that are really doing everything we can to support our coaches as well. And that was the whole point of creating this conversation and creating this cafe, obviously through these very difficult times that we're in, but most importantly, to let you know that we're here for you. And that most importantly, I think at the end of the day, we appreciate
Mhm.
everything you're doing.
Absolutely.
And that's been our interest. That's what we've talked about. And now here we are having the opportunity to create this dialogue, and it's a great time for it.
Yeah. Dropping the goods, right?
Yep.
Hey guys, we don't want to keep all of your time today. We're going to go ahead and take off. We just wanted to stop in and make sure that we did our time today with our conversation. We'll be back next Tuesday live on YouTube at 1 o'clock with the podcast, and then the podcast goes up on the Apple podcast and then also on Spotify, and so they're available on both. um, yeah, if you have any questions or anything that you'd like for us to discuss, we'll take it in email, and then we'll make sure we get to it. We appreciate everybody's time. You guys have a good day.
Have a great day. Thank you.